Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Optimized for Humans. My name is Usha. I'm an executive coach and consultant. And today I'm speaking with Joe Abbott, who is the Chief Human Capital Officer within the Food Safety and Inspection Service within the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Joe, you've been a part of the federal government as a civilian for 32 years and as a part of the Army for 10 years. So you've really been dedicated to to our community and to serving the public of the United States. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with you in particular because I'm interested to see how AI is disrupting the public sector and interested to kind of, in an evolving way, see how government features in around these conversations around artificial intelligence and how it's seeping through our world in a myriad of ways. Welcome, and thanks for having this conversation with me.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Usha. I'm honored that you asked me to join you for the conversation.
Well, I'm curious what you're finding in terms of the camps that people are falling into around embracing AI or not, and how that's maybe different in the public sector context.
Well, a lot of what we do, from food safety is regulatory in nature. Mm-hmm. Meaning, as a government agency, we set the left and right boundaries for what's acceptable for the public in food safety. We set the forward and aft boundaries, left and right, so the framework. So we basically set it up so that if you do these things inside these boundaries, you should be okay. The food should be safe, and we set up a system for demonstrating that the food you are trying to get into market is fit for human consumption. And even if you're not here, these are still the rules. They can be applied universally or worldwide or internationally. And if you have a non-human entity trying to create that, for some folks, that's going to send a chill because there's supposed to be logic and reasoning and thought going into this and deliberation about what's the right framework, what's the right business process, what's the right methodology.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of data to help support why you believe the agency should do this for this type, for this product, for these people. There's a fear of being replaced. I talked about the typewriter, right? All the secretaries, stenographers. It was a fear and it was realized. And then, so now you see robots doing things. You see driverless cars, less people, but things are going. But people had to make those things people-less to go. So the relevance of the individual who at one point had something meaningful is gone. And when asked for how do I solve this, they're going to talk to an artificially intelligent thing to solve this problem for them, which is, again, a non-human being. So I think folks tend to weave those fears into their thought process about how to go about the day-to-day work that I'm doing. On the other hand, I think we got folks that are really excited about it because they see AI as a tool. How do I synthesize all of this data, which right now is a bunch of just a huge stack of numbers, shapes, words, theories. There's this bunch, a whole unorganized. I know I have it. It's a lot. I'm just not really sure what I can do with it. And it becomes a tool to get something back that they can't get back, which is time.
Yeah.
You never get that time back. Once the time's gone, like you and I discussing now, that time's gone. We'll never get it back, with or without AI. So if AI can help me get back some of my time, I see it as a benefit.
Yeah. There's two things I want to say around that, which is I think there's something to be said about what position is the AI playing and what position is the human playing around that regulatory function specifically, if we were to go into that. I think there is something about human judgment being ultimately really crucial and human discernment being crucial. But if we can leverage the AI to synthesize all of this information, to set those guidelines or even like make suggestions, etc. But there's something still, I think, about humans coming in at the end of it and verifying, checking,
So,
clarifying, evolving.
so for what you just said, that brings up one of the key, if not probably the most critical piece of the federal government is the public's trust.
Mm.
So human beings develop the policy, the guidelines, the framework, and they're held accountable for developing the policies. And if the policies are ineffective, who is responsible for fixing, restoring, and maintaining the public trust that goes along with that? If I tell you the food is safe to eat, your reflex is, okay, you're the federal government.
Right.
It better be safe to eat. And if it's
Right.
not, you're going to look over your shoulder and say, you told me it would be safe to eat. If AI or some version of that does the synthesizing and says, well, the food should be good to eat, and it's not, where's the accountability?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a similar.
Who's responsible for that? Is it my AI? It's not a person, and what are the consequences? You unplug it,
right?
But that doesn't fix or doesn't decide what the corrective action is going to be. It's a tool, or you and the public trust can, if the public trust is, well, the AI was right and he found it's wrong and they unplug it, then where does the trust go?
Yeah, and this is a similar dilemma with the self-driving car. What if it makes a mistake and there's some sort of casualty or, God forbid, fatality as a result of that? Who is accountable in that scenario? And so I think there is something to be said around, again, I think it's the mistake is thinking of some of these things as either or. I mean, I won't pretend to know what the solutions are from a self-driving car perspective, but certainly from a food safety perspective, I think it's.
I believe it's a case of using, instead of either or, but it's an and.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have the human beings who have accepted responsibility for food safety, paramount. That's their mission in life.
Yeah.
And they want to utilize AI.
Yeah.
To help go through that decision-making process, knowing that the decision still rests with the person that's responsible, the human being that's got the obligation to do that, but that AI can support the process that formulates a better, smarter, meaningful decision that's going to affect a lot of people.
Yeah, and again, I guess it's when the stakes are high, you want there to be human judgment, human discernment as part of that equation to make absolutely certain, right? And in many ways, the models and the math and the algorithms will probably be they're likely to be more accurate, not less, over time. But I think there's something about just having that double check at the end, or,
well, to the point about trust, the public trusting. Yeah. So there's going to. Not everybody thought the cell phone was a great idea, or the laptop, or the automatic transmission, or the ice machine in the refrigerator. Okay. But they always trusted the pencil, which is the most primitive, right? It's a piece of lead, got some wood on it. It doesn't do anything until you hold it, and the eraser on the end is your way of undoing what you did.
Yeah.
So, but that as a technology was disruptive. Yeah. There's a whole fountain pen and ink quills, and now you got something that can fix a mistake. All something like that. That's something that we would see today is so primitive.
Yeah.
I think the same mental approach towards if AI can be utilized as a tool, the way a pencil can be utilized as a tool, then the trust of it, because now you know what it's capable of and also what it's not capable of.
Yeah.
The human beings that are being asked to use it will
Yeah.
trust that using it does not result in the elimination of their purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point about like the stenographers and typewriter
Mm-hmm.
typists, there were entire roles that were dedicated before the computer was a thing. There
Whole
were entire
offices,
roles.
newspapers, yeah, whole
Yeah.
offices. Uh-huh.
And those people, it wasn't, they're not still unemployed, right? There's something about like reorganizing work when these technologies come in and putting people into new places. And
Yeah.
I think that is the hope, is that as much as this will disrupt things, it can also create new possibilities for
It,
what
it
we're
creates,
doing with our
yeah,
tech.
it creates different. And when I look at the auto industry,
Yeah.
going from the production line, now you have robots that are
Yeah.
literally picking up and lifting, right?
Of course.
So you
Yeah.
have fewer folks that are banging on metal to form an automobile frame.
Yeah.
Um, you have CAD designers that have software that allows them to be more creative.
Yeah.
And no longer the paper you have to flip up, change, flip it over to see where it fits.
Yeah.
So you create new, but for most folks, they would say it's not new, it's different
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they really want to believe in that underlying mission. I make cars, I keep food safe. So that's not new. This is just different. When in fact, it may be really new.
Right.
It's new. A handheld phone there's no cord and I'm moving and I can still hear somebody.
Yeah.
That's not just different, that's new. And that's scary. And on the HR side, because of those things like AI being a disruptor, you won't know what it will create that's different until you tinker with it, and that helps you form what you need to look for in a talent pool because the skill sets are different.
Yeah.
There are similarities. HR is HR. It's people, right? It's
Yeah.
people. And AI is not going to give you emotion. There's no empathy.
No real empathy. It can mimic it, but it can't
Right,
generate it.
right. AI doesn't cry. It doesn't feel pain. I don't think it feels joy either. It just exists as a software.
Yeah.
Right? It's a software. AI is a software. So it's coding. Some human, well, maybe not AI. I think there's even AI that creates AI now. I think.
Yes, that
In
is
the
the
Arnold Schwarzenegger
yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
Terminator becomes, more and more a mental perception of, oh my God, this is where we're headed, which is kind of silly, but why not? It's creative.
Yeah.
But AI does not have, it may have characteristics, but it doesn't really have genuine human qualities. And from an HR lens, regardless of the type of work, even if they're working on AI things, from an HR lens, you still have to recognize those human qualities and provide those to the ones who are the workforce doing these things with or without AI. Like you don't get to make an exception. Well, you're an AI, so this shouldn't bother you. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. No matter what the disruption. And the realization that things happen. So I work in DC. It was 9/11. Hit the Pentagon.
Yeah.
All the AI in the world would not have eliminated, reduced, or redirected the human trauma and the residual emotional, mental impact, in addition to the physical harm. but AI would not be able to do anything to make that go away.
Of course. And you
Good.
don't want that to be the
Right.
one speaking with your employees who are affected by
Right.
any kind of tragedy, right?
And on a micro level, when employees get sick,
Yeah.
those same feelings, those same reactions, those same emotions, those same mental processes take place on an individual level, and HR's got to help figure out how to get them through that.
Yeah.
So it isn't a worldwide catastrophe, but in my world, as an individual employee, it's a catastrophe, and it's the friends next to them we're working on the line, and now they're gone. Right. So and what's going to happen to me? To me, what's going to happen to me? You probably get 3 or 4 different answers if you put it into AI. So yeah, it can help you solve a problem. It just might not be the problem you want solved.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, I'm curious, kind of the last question I want to explore with you is really the public sector has a different compass it's moving. Like the North Star is very much around like community and service, not necessarily profit. And there's a lot that both the private and public sector can learn from each other and cross-pollinate. And what advice would you have for senior leaders out there, whether they're in the public or nonprofit or private sector, as they're sitting with different decisions around how AI is adopted, and particularly around like trade-offs around their people, of letting go of people potentially, etc. Like, what advice would you have around how people think about their people and AI within their organizations?
I think it should be a legitimate standalone topic of conversation. First with your organization leadership. And then if you have levels below that if you're the senior leader, you have those candid conversations, more of an asking. So instead of saying, so what's going to happen with AI? And you kind of get this deer in the headlights. What do you mean what's going to happen with AI? We don't know. AI, it might be a question of, what do you think AI could do for us? And you have to be willing to listen and take that in and be able to then rotate the kaleidoscope, the lens that they're looking at it, and say, what do you think will happen if we do use it? Because I got folks that have great ideas, amazing ideas, right? And I say, great idea, let's do it. And the CFO says, what are you doing? We can't afford that. The security guy says, wait a minute, that's not, do you realize what kind of risk that's going to create? The operations guy says, well, that's not what we're focused on. Like, that's not our main thing. We should be focused, right? All of a sudden, so it's one thing to say, what do you think we could do for us? And then say, well, what do you think will happen? And that creates now the communication, not continuum, but certainly a circular opportunity to come back and re-engage. And if you do it at the leadership level, they might in turn do it with their respective organizations, their employees, about what do you think it could do. And they probably, 10 heads are better than one, probably come up with a couple of good ideas that they can support, that they have an idea what would happen and what they want to do if it does go, and then start working on mitigating the risk if it tanks. I don't think they should look at it as a leader as it's a cure-all. It's going to make our lives so much better. It has to be something that the employees are going to see as tangible for them. I advise to say, well, I'd like to use AI to create tutorials on these HR subjects that employees need to know about. So when they join I can say, a young professional, because I'm not young anymore, I want to get educated about what a career in the Fed will look like, and health benefit selections, designation of beneficiaries, financial planning, investment, 401k, workman's compensation if you get hurt, what happens when you get like they both want to use AI to create tutorials on subjects that they're passionate about and get it in the hands of the employees. So the question is, well, what do you think will happen if we do that? And they got to be able to tell me because that's their expectation, right? So, and senior leaders can do that on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be every day, but periodically re-engage, ask, what do you think will happen? Well, what will happen if we don't? So they're actually helping you assign a value to their idea and whether or not it's worth investing in that idea to utilize AI for that purpose. But it also starts helping frame the scope of this thing called AI for this group to build trust that it's going to do what we want it to do. And it's a steady walk. It's not we can't do like the private sector and bolt to the finish line. I think we could partner with the private sector to accelerate us getting down the path. But because it's not Joe Abbott's money, it's the taxpayers, the citizens. I'm not allowed to rush down the finish line and say, hey, I spent it all, I'm going to need a little bit more. I didn't kind of go, if the private sector who's more willing to look at risk that way and says, no, we'll do that. And can we partner with you so we can walk a couple steps behind you down the path and you show us what it looks like to see the finish line sooner, we might be able to deliver the services to the public without having to exhaust as much energy and resources as you have, because we don't want to do it up to taxpayers' money. We want to be responsible. Does that make sense?
I really appreciate that. I heard a couple of things there. One, this piece around senior leaders really engaging people and empowering people around how do we form this partnership between, like encouraging people to use the AI tools and really encouraging them to think through the risks and consequences and work with each other and with the kind of broader ecosystem around that. And I think there's a lot to be said within that. And part of that is mitigating their fears of being replaced.
Right.
And again, I think it needs to start. I think we need to shift the conversation to what's the most how can we make the best of both? And what are the right roles for both the humans and the AI? And how do we free up the humans to have the ideas and implement the ideas and leverage AI as a tool, and kind of mitigating some of their fears by really pointing to that in a genuine and authentic way. And I think that goes a long way.
So when you say roles, can you give me a little more context to that?
Yeah. So I think there's something about what are the tasks that should stay with the humans. Maybe the AI can do it, but it's not the best use. It's actually a better use of human judgment, human empathy, human connection. As an example, to your point earlier about you can create a chat bot, an AI bot that talks to your employees if they're going through something, let's say, and you can train it to be empathetic. So you can train it to say the right things and listen to the person, etc. That's not a good replacement for an actual human who's there empathizing with you, supporting you, and actually working through with you from an HR perspective on a very specific bespoke issue that you might be working with or working through, right? So can an AI do it? Sure. Is that the right position for it? No. But if you had a human who's actually working with people, out in the organization, in this example, but you're leveraging the AI to say, what are all the policies that are relevant to this particular situation? What can this person do? What can't they do? What do we need to look into, et cetera? So leveraging it for the knowledge base, leveraging it for, give me a set of options and possibilities in this scenario. But actually you as the human are the one talking to somebody who's going through something difficult.
So you could
that's one example around empathy, but you can extrapolate that.
I think that's good. It gives you a chance to say, okay, so I want AI to create the scenarios for which my employees will be facing. so that when the first real one hits, they are not overcome by the significance of what they're being told, raw, unfiltered, and in the moment. It
Yeah,
usually helps if you can practice it a little bit. So design some scenarios for which my employees would have to react
totally.
in a supportive role or in a food safety role so that they can get better at it before it actually happens. So, okay, I got it. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I think there's a lot to be said about how we make these decisions in a continued way. And I think we're all sort of figuring them out
Mm-hmm.
as we go along. But Joe, thank you so much for your time. I'm mindful of our time, so I'll bring our lovely conversation to a close. But it's
You're
been a
welcome.
real pleasure to chat with you and to just explore how this is playing out in a public sector context. And I have a lot of appreciation for the kind of diligence and care the public sector does really hold for taxpayer money, and to be respectful of that. That you're, kind of um, that your pace is more deliberate, it's more intentional, and you're not prioritizing speed, you're prioritizing getting it right and having intentionality. And so I'm interested to see how this continues to evolve in the public sector space as
Me
well.
too. Me too. It's exciting. Nervous, but exciting still.
Nervous but exciting.
Yeah.
I think that's very on point. Well, thank you so much again for joining
You're
me
welcome.
today.
My pleasure. I appreciated the opportunity.